Hey, New City. Another sermon preview. 1 John. This week we're in chapter 3. We're going to look at verses 11 through 24. I think it's 24. 11 through 24. It'll finish out chapter 3. It breaks down into three pretty simple sections. The first one is what I'm saying is don't love like Cain. Right? Cain didn't love at all. In fact, what John says is Cain hated his brother. We know the story of Cain and Abel and how Cain, in jealousy, killed his brother, right? I mean, the ultimate in hatred. And what John is saying is don't love like that. That's the wrong kind of love. Now, I'm going to pause here for just a moment, and I want to encourage you, maybe as you're leading your MC, to pause here as well. In 1 John, there's not a love, a like, and a hate. There's either a love or a hate. And in John's mind, if you're not loving, then you're hating. And so I know here that we see the ultimate swing from love to hate, and that's murder. And most of our folks aren't going to murder. But at the same time, we don't love like John talks about loving either. And so I want us to pause here and just make sure we understand. There's not a hate and a love, and then in the middle a like, right? It's just hate or love in John's mind. So he says, don't love like Cain. Instead, in the next section, 16 through 18, he says, love like Jesus. As followers of Christ, we should love like Jesus. Now, the way that Jesus loved was to give himself up for us. In fact, it's that sacrifice, John says, that tells us how we know what love is. And so when we're thinking about this with ourselves, as John's calling us to love one another, to love our brothers and sisters, that kind of love is a giving love, right? It's a love in action. A lot of times we'll use the word that we love one another, but we rarely do anything for one another. We don't pray for one another. We don't care for one another. We don't give to one another. We do little to support one another, little to serve one another. Our love is just words. And what John is calling us to is love in deeds, just like Jesus. So I'll probably spend some time here Sunday just talking about the life of Jesus, right? When we look at Jesus, we see what love looks like. He sacrificed himself, not just on the cross, but daily. Working himself to the point of exhaustion, and his work was ministering to other people. He did that around the clock, morning, noon, and night, every day of the week, right? His life was a life given to other people every day. Well, that's the love and the sacrifice that we're called to. Not to drop our jobs and start a full-time love ministry, but as we go about life, where we live, where we work, where we play, with every opportunity that we have to love like Jesus. Jesus said that to his disciples. He told his disciples, this is how they'll know that you are mine, that you're my disciples, that you love one another. So MCs will have a great opportunity to talk about what it looks like to love as husbands, what it looks like to love as fathers, what it looks like to love your church, what it looks like to love your missional community, to love your co-workers, to love the great city that we live in. What does it look like to love like Jesus is calling us to love? So the last section, 19 through 24, basically is saying that with this, the Father is pleased. And we can be sure that this is the kind of love that we have in our heart. The Holy Spirit will bring conviction if it's not, and give us peace where it is. And John talks about really the Father being pleased with this, that the Father hears and answers our prayers when we trust in Jesus, when we believe this gospel, when we come to him by faith, and when we follow his commands. And the command that he's primarily talking about here is loving God and loving our neighbor as ourselves, or loving our brothers and sisters, loving the people who are around us. With that, the Father is pleased. And so if you'd like to, you can spend some time there. Maybe it's a question to be asked. Is it possible that your prayers aren't being heard or answered because you lack love for the people around you? John seems to be saying that that's a possibility. Anyway, great opportunity to talk about what it looks like to love others. great opportunity to not just talk about it in the form of a command, but to point to Jesus, to his life, right, as it is a demonstration of love, to his death, as it is a demonstration of love, and to his resurrection, by which we're empowered by the Spirit to love our brothers and sisters. That Spirit is shaping us into the image of Jesus. And so the good news, of course, is not that we're just called to love the people around us, but we're given an example of what it means and what it looks like to love our family, our wife, our husband, our children, our friends, our church, our city, the entire world. We're given an example of that, and we're actually empowered to be able to do that. So great opportunity. Man, wouldn't it be great if New City were known as a Jesus-loving church that loves the people in the church and the people in our city? Wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, that is what Jesus said. They'll know you're my disciples by your love for one another. So, encouragement. Lead your MC in loving one another. Lead your MC in loving the church, in loving our city, in loving the world. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. I'll post our MC questions below the video here on the city, and you can post there as well if you have any comments or questions from this week. Love you guys. Thank you so much for all that you do. See you soon.